What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another Beta Memoirs. And if you haven't done so already, consider subscribing if you are looking for stock market analysis, because I do both the fundamental jazz and I do the technical jazz. So, being said, we have made it to this point. We were waiting for today. We were waiting for a Mr. Powell to come on deck and essentially repeat the same thing he's been saying over and over again. And that's exactly what he did today with his poker face. He came on and said exactly the same thing. That rates will not be raised until sometime later next year because they have to determine what is going on. Yes, the supply chain is getting better. There's a lot of different things that are getting better, which is fantastic news. And so he announced that they are stopping some of the bond purchases next month, which is great to see because the market loved it. And we got this huge green candle towards the end of the day, right after he spoke, and the market was ready. The market is roaring. And I know it seems ridiculous that we've had this run all the way up, no major pullbacks. And I know a lot of people are out there. I've been doing this for quite a while now, and yes, technical wise, there should be a pullback. But that also being said, you have to remember, we are not in a market that we've ever been in before. Yes, you can look at historical data, but it is not going to give you what has happened, right? We are living through essentially the roaring 20s all over again. There's the massive amount of money, 40% of the money that is currently in circulation has been printed this past year. Nobody understands what's going on. I don't even understand. All I know is that the market is extremely strong. And right now, we just got the green flag until the end of the year. We're going to run extremely hard because this is one of the two of the most bullish, this bullish period we're going into. Being said, the market is going to run hot. But also being said, yes, will there be pullbacks? There'll be pullbacks. Yes, will there be a correction? Yes, I believe some point further down the road. But right now, what we're trying to do is take it day by day. This is why I have daily updates. We're trying to take it week by week, determine what new information comes out. As far as I'm aware right now, we are going to be extremely bullish for at least the foreseeable future. What we need to also be mindful of is risk management. We don't want to be throwing everything in there and then a major correction happens overnight. You have to be well aware that still can happen. There could be news overnight, something completely change, and the market could crash, right? And it could be anything. There's always something out there. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. You need to be mindful of that. That's why I do like trading options, because you're limiting some risk on the table by what you put into the actual trade, as opposed to holding the equity. Then you essentially, if you're not an investor, you're going to be writing that down and holding that bag for a while. So it just depends on your strategy. But ultimately, what is going on today is we got the green light, and I think we're going to gap. I think we're going to gap overnight, and tomorrow is going to be a big day. For the most part, I see us possibly pulling back Friday and then into next week, more bullish activity playing out to the rest of essentially the earning period and going from that point. And so that's where I stand. Yes, I'm extremely bullish. And I know, again, I've seen it all over Twitter. I've seen it everywhere. People are just talking about crash, crash, crash. It just goes up. Yes, I completely understand that. Yes, there should be a pullback. I completely agree with that. But if you at all had any kind of analysis over this past year, if any technical analysis has made sense to you this year, then you would be observant of that none of it has played out the way it's supposed to. Right now, it is all essentially driven by the Fed. Everything that comes out with the Fed and what they're doing, that is what's driving the market. It has nothing to do with technicals. It has nothing to do with any of these things. This is why I do both. This is why I do technical and I do fundamental, because of the fact that you have periods like this where technicals don't matter. They will not play out. And that's essentially what we've seen almost the whole year. Aside from like February to March, all we've seen is the market just go up. After that March dip, we've just essentially gone up. Now we just got out of a period where we pulled back and went pretty stagnant for a while, but then we start pushing again. And we have to realize that these dips, these small dips, are about as big of a break as you're going to get. And I've said this essentially periodically throughout this year, that the dips or the corrections are going to be diluted because we are living through a very historical time that nobody's ever lived through. And you can compare it to whatever you want to compare it to, but nothing compares to this. Again, there's so much money in the system, and anything, housing crash, whatever you want to talk about. Again, you have to realize that that stuff is delayed. It doesn't happen overnight. Given being said, we crashed last year. We just crashed last year. Now I know we all got some post-traumatic stress going on here, but we also have to understand that it's not going to crash. It's very rare we actually crash. Corrections happen, yes. A crash is very, very rare. Do I believe it could happen? Yes, but it's not going to be probably in the next couple of years before you can even really consider something like that, unless something completely out of the blue, like the pandemic, happened that made the market crash. Again, nothing seen in the foreseeable future, but those events aren't foreseeable. Those are black swan events. So, being said, where do we go from here? Bitcoin, the market itself, again, straight up, I think, again, will gap tomorrow, pull back a little bit, and then we'll continue running into the end of the week. That is my thesis for the market in general. Bitcoin is trying to go back up. I think it's only a matter of time before this breaks all-time highs again and tries to run and tries to get its legs. Again, 50-50, anything can happen. There's so much mass adoption right now. It's hard to say for it to not push, but on the same token, people can panic and sell for whatever reason. Again, people still fear of inflation could drive this up, especially after today's announcement that the Fed still consider it transitory, which I still believe it is transitory. It's only because of supply issues and supply constraints that we're seeing a lot of this. And I think that a lot of stuff is getting worked out, and we'll see that in the coming months. I think even Powell suggested that we'll see that in Q2 of next year is when we'll start seeing the supply chain ease up quite a bit. But it's in the cards. I know Apple, there was a suggestion that Apple is seeing some relief in the supply chain in some of their as far as kicking out new phones. So with that, what do we got? We got Tesla. Now, my biggest thing here going into the next couple of days is I'm trying to look for a lot of things that have been lagging. Yes, you have your Teslas, you have everything, your Googles, your Apples, your Facebooks. There's some particular stocks, NVIDIAs have been running pretty hot. They haven't really had a lot of big push. So like your Tesla's already had a big push. I think Tesla could probably squeak out a little bit more. Not really sure how much further Tesla will go, although Tesla can always surprise. But Tesla's one of those ones I think that is reaching towards the top. So I'm kind of looking towards those ones that haven't even pushed yet. And so you do have your Teslas that have pushed. Google has pushed quite a bit, but I think it's still got more juice in it. It's had tons of price target ranges over 3,000. I think it's very much a possibility. But I'm more looking at your ones like Apple, who hasn't really done any kind of pushing, even before earnings, had earnings and kind of just died, and then is slowly creeping back up. I think Apple could be a big one that's going to come into play here. Facebook has been beaten down for so long. I think Facebook can do a lot of retracing and go back to all-time highs. So I think Facebook could go back to all-time highs and be a big one that could correct. So one I want to keep an eye on. Microsoft, one of those ones I just talked about, one of the ones that have really pushed hard. Do I see it pushing harder? Yes, I think you'll get a little bit more going forward. But ultimately, I think your ones like your Teslas and your Microsoft will probably start slowing down. Some of that money will go back into some of the other stocks that have been lagging. And that's ultimately what I'm looking for, is the ones that have been lagging. Square is a big one. I think it's been kind of choppy with everything going on with Bitcoin and everything. But being said, I think Square could have a big, especially after earnings, I think could go back to all-time highs. I know it has a lot of price targets over 300. They've done tremendous over the pandemic. Their Cash app is just on fire. They're doing a lot of great things over there that are really going to help. So being said, I want to watch Snap going, or Square going into earnings tomorrow night after the bell, and then play continuation on Friday on that one. Your coins and your MSTR, these are really big ones I want to keep an eye on, because if Bitcoin starts to rip and starts to go for 100K, not saying that we'll reach that, but if it starts to make that ascent, these are ones to really watch. If you don't play crypto at all, watch coin, watch MSTR, and play those. And then as far as what else we got on deck, I do like Snap. I am in Snap as far as shares. I think talking about ones that could recover, I think Snap could recover. I knew their future is kind of hesitant as far as their ad space. They did still make out, but I think they're going to have to definitely revamp and see how they really stand on next quarter. But nonetheless, I think with this market pushing, I think it could still make up a lot of ground before that happens. Snap is still a great company. I think they could still do well. They just have to essentially reconfigure some things to start getting start becoming more profitable, especially after the ad thing with Apple. PLTR, great company. This one, I don't know. You know, there's a lot of good things. If you're an investor, this is a great company as far as big moves. Not really sure what's going to happen with PLTR. This might be the time it starts to break out. I don't know. But I think one to definitely keep on watch. UPST, this one's really been chopping around. I think it's only a matter of time before this one breaks out as well, especially if there's concerns about inflation, auto loans and everything. I think could play a factor into all that. So looking for another 320. If this step back down here, definitely want to get into it, because I know it's large consolidation already. Attempting to break out, it keeps getting pushed down. So definitely want to keep a watch on. Amazon is definitely one for tomorrow because of this breakout. It had this monstrous run today. Looking for a retest tomorrow. Essentially the 33.73 mark. Or the 33.67, if we can retest that, the 50 on the daily, I think this one could really rock it up and start making up a lot of ground tomorrow. Same with Shop. Shop's had some major price point upgrades, well over 16, I believe. So I think just looking for a retest. If we do any kind of retesting tomorrow, I think again tomorrow will be a big day, and then going into Friday, it might just be take profit Friday, as I think what's going to happen there. SC, another big one, had a huge dip going in today because of the worry about Powell. I think this one will be a really great one to watch tomorrow as well. I think the e-commerce space has been struggling again with like Amazon and Shop, how they pulled back, but it does have the gaming side, and the gaming side's been really hot lately. So I want to see how that plays out. Airbnb, it's been really choppy. I'm not quite sure about that. Lemonade had a huge morning this morning. They were talking, I guess they're releasing some new different products. And so it exploded this morning. I didn't capture any of this move today. But I want to watch this and see if it continues. It's really been kind of stagnant ever since that initial IPO and run up. Ever since then, it's been pretty flat. So I just want to see, keep an eye and see what it's doing there. BYND is another big one. It's finally broken back over 100. It's still getting some gas. I really kind of like it to come back down and retest the 100. I don't think that's going to happen, though. But ultimately, at least if we can come back down to the 102.38 mark would be great. If we could get back to that for a retest, which we've already retested the 50, so a retest back down to we hit that top resistance at the 50 day moving average. So we'll come back down close to that 20 for an entry, and then possibly continuation for that one. So I like BYND as well for that. And then that is pretty much what I got. It's big tech is going to take all the money, soak up all the money for now. I'm going to ride that wave until they die out. Like I said, I think your Teslas, your Microsofts are getting close. Then you got a couple different tiers below that I think have been lagging. Your Apples, your Facebooks, Snap, Amazon. There's been a couple of them that have been lagging. I think can make up a lot of ground there. Then I think I'll rotate into some other ones like possibly your Roblox. Trying to think what else in that category around that point. Your Roblox, maybe your Planters. some of those other smaller cap, mid cap stocks, I think will start really pushing at that point. But I think now that we've been given the go ahead, we're going to really start making some ground. Again, you still have to manage risk. Again, there can always be a black swan. This is why I try to keep you as up to date as possible on my Twitter. So if you don't follow me there, follow me there, because I want you to at least get the up to date. I try to come out with a morning call, essentially update what I'm seeing in the market and stuff, probably about an hour before the market opens. That way you can kind of prepare a little bit, and then we'll take it from there, because it can change. Everything can change completely overnight. I could be bullish today, and then tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the morning, I could be bearish. So it really just depends on the overnight sessions. Right now, still very bullish going into the next couple of weeks. So let's see what happens. If you've made it this far, hit the like button and consider subscribing. Till next time, I'll see you guys later.